night four. Hey, how about that? You're doing great. Great. Listen, I haven't got much time. It's been a really bad night here for me. I messed up big time. If you've listened this far, you know the back room that I told you about? The one with the suits? Can you just go and check? I'm gonna do my best to hold on for as long as I can. Whoever, whenever you hear this anyway. Oh, fuck. I guess I was always curious what happened to those other guys. Oh, fuck. Okay, listen. Shit. Fuck. Help me.
Hi everyone, my name is Liam and today we are going to take a look at reworking the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. It's incredible that an indie game made almost out of spite for criticism would go on to become one of the most successful horror franchises of all time, with a Blumhouse produced movie to coexist alongside its fruitful life as a game series. This one's especially bizarre because it seems that fans and critics are at odds with each other regarding the film we actually ended up with. Me personally, I enjoyed the film as a massive Five Nights dork, but critics were quick to point out the reliance on its fanbase and lack of real accessibility to a wider audience, as well as a general lack of, quote, unscariness. It's easy to point out flaws and faults, but that's not productive. So let's have a look at reworking the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I hope you enjoy my alternate narrative. The film opens as this video did, leading into the title card. Now here's where things are going to take a massive turn from the current narrative. This character, Abby, in the film is used as a huge plot device, and whilst getting rid of her means losing Doug, I fucking love Doug. Abby and the aunt and Doug are gonna have to go. We cut into Mike sitting in the chair of the job counselor's office. He looks vacant, distant, and sleep deprived. Through small inserts as he tries to keep his eyes open, we see the incident that led to the reason that he is here. Dismissal as a security guard at the mall. His attention is brought back by his work counselor slamming his file down onto his desk and slumping himself into his chair.
Look, I don't know what you've got going on behind the eyes, kid, but you got some issues. I mean, look at your file. 4 different jobs, 3 different work counselors in 4 weeks. And now you've come to me. I don't know what you're expecting, but I'm a job counselor, not a miracle worker, Mr. Michael
The counselor takes note of Mike's full name. His eyes shift from the file and, not moving in his chair, he stares at Mike for an uncomfortable amount of time. To break the silence, Mike pushes forward an ad from a local paper that he saw for a security guard gig. The counselor finally snaps out of his trance-like state and fills Mike in on the details of the pizzeria, but the position is unfortunately filled.
Look, there's nothing I can do, kid, but if anything comes up, you'll be the first on my mind.
Mike leaves and goes home, noticing his flat has now been issued with an eviction notice. He throws his bag down and throws himself onto his bed. On his bedside is a book on controlling dreams. On the ceiling is a photograph from inside Freddy Fazbear's. As he stares, suddenly, his phone rings.
Hey, kid. So that job, you're free to start immediately, right?
Mike grabs his things, his Walkman, his book, and the poster, and we cut to him outside the rundown pizzeria.
Yeah, I guess as luck would have it, a position just became available.
Upon entering the pizzeria, Mike looks around. He discovers the animatronics and is repulsed by a pungent smell coming from the stage. He notices rain coming in through the ceiling and places buckets down to catch the water before heading to the security office down the hall.
It's been shut down for years.
The only reason they haven't given it the old wrecking ball treatment is the owner is a bit of a...
Well, he's kind of a sentimental guy, I guess.
In the security office, there is a red blinking light coming from the phone on the desk. Mike sits down, flicks through the cameras and notices a tape with his name on by a VCR player just off to his right. Pushing the VCR in gives us a nod to analog horror, with the training tape using elements from this medium to plant the seed that something paranormal is at play here.
Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. The genius who created Fazbear Entertainment opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria to indulge in his two greatest passions: family-friendly fun and cutting-edge animatronic technology. Interact with guests in truly lifelike fashion. Introduce you to the stars of the show. Adorable, aren't they?
After the VHS crashes out into static, Mike is jump scared by the phone's ringing. He spins in his chair and presses the answering machine.
You have 4 new messages. Message 1. Hello! Hi! I am the security guard that worked right where you're sitting before you. Been working here for a good while now, and when I started, I had nothing, and I had to figure everything out on my own. So you are welcome. First, I'm meant to read an introductory greeting from the company, but this is my last week, and I super don't care enough to read this, so I'm not gonna. Like, what are they gonna do? Fire me?
Ignoring the rest of the call, instead Mike sets up to trigger his first dream sequence. Here we see the beginning of his dream memory, but instead of taking place at a barbecue, he's celebrating his birthday at Freddy's in its heyday. We see that his parents are far too busy comforting Garrett, his brother, because he's afraid of the animatronics, meaning Mike isn't getting much attention at all. We see how he's looking. He's jealous of the attention that Garrett is getting. But this is all that we see. The whole dream has a weird kind of blur and fades in and out of segments of memory. Mike is then awoken by a loud clapping. He checks through the cameras and notices that Bonnie is no longer on the show stage. He picks up his torch, and whilst investigating where Bonnie went, he notices marks across the floor out of the west side office leading to the fire exit behind the office. Long, deep carved marks that drag towards the fire exit door. He walks to the fire exit door and pushes on the bar, but it doesn't open. Suddenly, all of the stage comes to life. Animatronics start dancing and singing. Light floods the pizzeria until Mike resets the breaker. Bonnie is back on the stage, but before Mike can give much focus to the fact that Bonnie's now looking directly at the camera, an officer is at the door. It's Vanessa. Vanessa greets Mike as a police officer and comes across as a bit of a nut job. She takes a genuine, childlike wonder to these animatronics. Clearly she has history with them. She notices that Mike is not wearing a Fazbear security badge, so she clips one onto his blazer and says something along the lines of, "These things are a lifesaver around these parts." As Mike locks up, Vanessa reminds Mike to just focus, stay alert, do his job, and keep his badge handy, which Mike politely thanks her for, but he clearly has some reservations about her opinions. Next, the break-in happens close to the film's events. However, instead of these random goons doing a job for the auntie because she's not here, sorry Doug, it's the son of the security guard who went missing in the cold open, looking for his dad. He enters with his friends by breaking in through the rear, and while he goes looking for answers, he asks his friends to do the same, leave everything untouched. However, his friends begin breaking open the coin dispensers and looking for valuables to take from the pizzeria. The animatronics do not take kindly to this. The son enters the security office and looks for clues. Whilst looking across the desk, however, he notices on the CCTV that his friends are nowhere to be seen. The kitchen camera is out and the sounds of shuffling and banging can be heard. Looking at the kitchen door, he can also see it swinging. Furious, the son enters the kitchen, but when he gets there to lambast his friends, there's nothing but signs of a struggle and what looks like blood trailing across the floor. It leads out of the serving doors. Following the blood trail takes him to the fire exit at the back next to the west side entrance of the security office. Pushing on the door, it seems stuck. As soon as he tries the door, the son hears a child's laughter. He turns, and in the bottom of the corridor, shrouded in shadow, a golden bear suit slumps suddenly against the wall. The son slowly approaches the suit, flashlight in hand. He flashes the light into the suit, but instead of finding his friend, it's empty. Suddenly, footsteps from behind, and as the sun turns, we barely see a blur of Foxy running as the flashlight falls to the ground. And shown only in shadow, we see, against the wall, Foxy cutting the sun open. Violently, his guts spill outward, and as his guts fall onto the ground, we get a fun match cut to clearly later in the day of Mike eating spaghetti at home. He gets a knock at the door and finds that it's Vanessa, warning him that there's been a break-in at Freddy's.
It's called criminal negligence.
You wouldn't understand.
Well, then help me.
Mike opens up to Vanessa and fills her in on why he's gone to Freddy's, finding out what happened to Garrett. Vanessa looks frightened of what she's hearing. She warns him not to go back to Freddy's, but that's not the answer that he wants. Mike looks defeated. But after a pause, Vanessa says that if he does go back, he could always check the old CCTV archives. The place has been closed since the 90s and the owner made sure he didn't throw a single thing away, so I can't imagine that the CCTV was the exception. Mike returns to the pizzeria, digs through the old CCTV archives until he happens upon the right month, date, and year of his birthday party. The CCTV has the times written on, and on the reverse of the tape has the events of the day, including one marked Mike's Special Day. Playing the tape, he sees his birthday playing out as he remembers, but this time he sees something on the tape he never remembers seeing as a kid. A yellow rabbit. It's brief on the camera, so Mike rewinds the tape and pauses it. That's not an animatronic. That's a person in a suit. The rest of the tape's video is garbled and damaged, so using this sound as his guide, he triggers his next dream sequence. Mike sees that in his dream he's teasing Garrett about the animatronics, forcing him front and center of the group as he cries, frightened. Mike watches on. He doesn't remember any of this. A crying Garrett runs away from the group out of sight. But when Mike tries to follow Garrett as he turns the corner, he's there, the yellow rabbit. Recoiling in fear, Mike falls back, falling to the ground and waking up. He sees something written on the mirror. It's me. We see that after he hits the floor, Mike's security badge has fallen off as he leaves the room to retrace the dream steps. As Mike rewalks his steps and heads to the same corner he woke up at, he looks towards Pirate's Cove. The curtain is wide open, and there is nobody standing in the center. Mike walks over to the cove, flashing his lights around the stage. On the ground is a child's drawing of 5 children. They're all crying. Mike spins, catching a blur of someone in the corridor. Was that a kid? He heads back to the corridor to find more children's drawings. Children crying. All with the same figure drawn into each picture. A yellow rabbit. The door behind the office, a banging as if someone is trapped inside. Mike cautiously approaches as he touches the door's handle. It stops. We see down the corridor behind Mike 2 white eyes are watching in the distance as they slip into shadow. Come the morning, Mike sits in the early morning sun against the pizzeria door, deep in thought. Vanessa arrives and asks, "Rough night?" Mike looks up. "What happened here?" Vanessa replies, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." In a local diner, Vanessa and Mike sit where Vanessa fills in the gaps using old newspapers and old case notes. Back in the 80s, 5 kids went missing, all whose last known whereabouts was Freddy's. Police searched high and low, checked all the staff's alibis, even investigated the owner's home, but they didn't find anything. But due to the lawsuits and sudden increase in staff injuries, they had to close their doors. The case went cold, never to be reinvestigated. Staff moved on and the owner, he sort of fell off the map. Mike tells Vanessa what he saw and how he feels close to discovering who took his brother. Vanessa looks hesitant to talk, but follows up with, "That's great." Come the night, Mike arrives at Freddy Fazbear's, but Vanessa is already there. She seems intent on burning the place down. But Mike can't let Vanessa do that. He needs to find out what happened to his brother. Mike confronts Vanessa about what she's trying to hide, but she deflects by attacking Mike about his want for closure. "What do you think, that finding out what happened to him is just going to suddenly bring him back?" Vanessa freezes. "What do you mean bring him back?" She's suddenly let on far more than she meant to. Vanessa leaves, refusing to reply to Mike. In his final dream, Mike learns the truth. Using the audio of the VHS and the poster in the office, He slips once again into his memory. He teased his brother's fear of the animatronics by forcing him front and center of their show. He got so scared he ran away, embarrassed. Then, the yellow rabbit comforted him. Amongst all the fear, suddenly something, or someone, wasn't scary.
We don't mean to be so scary. We're just so big and loud because all we really want is for someone to be our friend. Someone just like you.
The yellow rabbit holds out his hand.
If you like, you can be my friend. And I can show you a way you won't ever have to be afraid of us again.
Mike is confronted by the truth that he is responsible for his brother's disappearance. He denies it. He cannot believe this, and he tries to intervene with the dream as Garrett gets led to the back room by the yellow rabbit. He runs at him, calling back to the beginning of the film, but the yellow rabbit turns, eyes red, and grabs Mike by the throat. Mike wakes up in the office. He tries to run to the door, but Foxy catches him in the bottom of the corridor, driving his hook into Mike's leg. Foxy drags Mike towards the backstage room, but just as he's about to be hoisted and pressed into a Fazbear suit, Foxy steps into leaking water, short circuits, and hits the floor. Mike pries his leg free and escapes narrowly after a chase by crashing through the door he thinks is an exit, and the animatronics freeze at the door. Mike looks up. The animatronics, frozen. Mike looks around the door that he's just burst through. It's the door behind the office. It's a closed-off storage room, storing an old suit, the yellow rabbit. The animatronics have fled the sight of the suit. Everything goes blurry, and Mike passes out. Waking up, Vanessa patches Mike up and exposes that she is Afton's daughter. The reason the bodies were never found is because they were stuffed into the suits of the mascots. Mike is crestfallen. All this time his brother was trying to tell him. All along Garrett was trying to tell me. He wanted me to know it was my fault. It's me. Vanessa says that Mike and her can finish this together and bury the past for good. Together, they devise a plan to cause an electrical fire to burn down the pizzeria. But Vanessa is apprehensive about the possibility of her father being there. Mike agrees, gears up, and heads into the pizzeria, making entry through the vents. Sneaking past the animatronics, he pulls the breaker off the wall, exposing its wires which fall low to the ground. He puts a plug into the sink, turns on the tap, plants his Walkman in the security office, using it on loudspeaker to lure the animatronics to the office. All but one, Foxy. We get the same ball pit sequence from the film because it's pretty well done and also is very close to a sequence that happens from Silver Eyes, but of course this time taking place with Mike. Mike kicks the bucket of water established earlier to collect leaks at Foxy's feet, which causes a short circuit. Foxy falls to the ground, and as he does, Mike notices something has fallen out of Foxy's exoskeleton. A decaying child's hand. Enter Afton, out of suit, who has a little monologue just letting Matthew Lillard go full scream before turning a knife on Mike.
Excuse me, who the hell do you think you are? Not so fast there, kid. I've built something here I can't let you take away. I have answers to questions never asked, given life to those who've never lived, and no matter how many lives I live, no matter how many names I take, I can't escape this place. I always come back. This is my legacy, Michael, and you helped me build it. You should be proud.
Just then, Vanessa makes entry through the front door and confronts Afton as she does in the film, shooting him while obtaining a wound of her own. Wounded, Afton retreats. The fire takes hold and begins to spread from the office. Vanessa collapses and Mike goes to her aid as the animatronics re-emerged, charred and smoldering. As the animatronics begin to look hostile, Vanessa plants a security badge back onto Mike's jacket. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Mike looks up to Freddy. Garrett, I am so sorry. Freddy tilts his head. Afton then stumbles through the flames in the yellow suit. The animatronics surround him, and despite his best efforts to taunt them, it's all for naught. He's wounded and the spring locks in his suit trigger, blood pooling underneath him. He cries in agony as he tries to remove the helmet of the suit that's bound itself to his head. The building crumbles and collapses as the animatronics drag Afton away as fire consumes the building. Mike hoists Vanessa up and they escape out of the front entrance. Vanessa is taken away in an ambulance, and as Mike is treated by paramedics and questioned by police at the scene, a man in black approaches him. We don't hear what he says, nor do we see his face, but we do see that he gives Mike a card before walking away. Mike looks down at the card, puzzled. The name, Henry Emily, is written with a contact number. Mike looks on at the burnt down pizzeria. It's over. After a fade to black, we see in what was the back room of the pizzeria, now charred and burnt out, Afton, wheezing and asking for help.
Help. Hello? I always come.
And there we have it, my rewrite of the Five Nights movie. This was incredibly fun, and I hope you enjoyed my version of taking Scott Cawthon's baby to the big screen. As always, I'd love to hear your creative ideas in the comments section below. Things you'd have changed, maybe left in, like Doug. If you maybe want to see me have a go at rewriting something you're passionate about, please do let me know in the comments as well. Thanks again for the outpour of support on my last essay. Expect more to come, I suppose. Thank you again. Stay safe, stay happy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.